Jake, boys, how about it? Mike Thomas, baby, back. Let's go, fellas. Why the long faces? Can't guard Mike. NFL record holder. Most catches in a single season. A man who a couple of years ago was the best receiver in the entirety of the NFL. A man who broke every record in the first 4 years of his NFL career. Have things been rough lately? Yes. But you just got that guy on a 1-year, $10 million deal. And I'm not going to lie, Jake, I thought on the open market, and maybe now it's pretty shrewd by Mike, right? Because if this does work out, he ends up getting that big contract maybe elsewhere next year. But like I thought in the open market that he would go for, if Marcus Davenport is out here getting 1 year, $13 million, and multi-NFL record holder Mike Thomas is getting 10, ha! Vikings, you bums. But how about it? So in case you missed it, Mike Thomas signs with the New Orleans Saints, something that I thought to be unfathomable. Remember, when they reworked his contract, we said, okay, this is the end. This is the death knell, and it was the end of that contract. Little did we know that it was not the end of Mike Thomas's time in New Orleans. So he signs 1 year, $10 million. Bonuses could take it to $15 million. And look, you know what? He was originally supposed to make 15.5 this year. So for him, if he goes out there and performs like he knows he's capable of, it's actually no real difference. In fact, he probably comes out with more money because remember when they reworked that contract and didn't take it earlier this year, they just straight up gave him $1 million. They were like, oh, here, just to agree to this restructure, here you go. Here's $1 million.
Yep. 4 incredible years.
Yes.
Right? I mean, incredible. 92 catches, 104, 125, 149.
Yes.
Over 1,000 yards in each of those seasons, obviously. The average, it is what it is. It was always around 12 yards per catch. But that's what he was. That's first down.
Be careful, dude. He's getting into slant boy territory. Okay, slant boy is going to become slant man this year.
Look, I just want him to be slant available.
Oh, wow.
No,
here you come.
So 7 games in 2020, 3 games in 2022. Injuries happen, certainly part of the game. It's a brutal game. They need him to be available.
That tells me? Fresh legs, Jake. My guy has the freshest of legs. For 3 years, he's been training up these legs to get as fresh as possible.
Now you had to come back, and you probably shouldn't have won the game, but you did. In the game that Danny's showing highlights of right now, the Falcons game. Like, that's what it can be. I don't even necessarily think this isn't a toughness issue. This isn't a conversation that we're having with other players. He's just been injured, but it's been when he's injured, what he's doing.
It has been a bit of stubbornness. There has been immaturity laced throughout. It's never been a toughness. Nobody questions Mike Thomas's toughness or competitiveness.
No.
Like, I'm with you there, 100%.
But it's, when you get injured in the NFL, there's a certain process that you have to go through. That team has invested a lot of money in you. It can be hundreds of thousands. It can be multi-millions. But whatever, they've invested in you, and so they want you to go through the process of making sure that you're doing everything you have to do every single day to get back on the field. So, those are the things that you got to clean up a little bit. Right, wrong, or indifferent.
Yeah.
Again, you've heard me sit up here and talk about the Chargers and the way the doctor handled things. Like, it wasn't great, but there's a process that you can go through even if you do want to get your own opinions, your own therapy. Like, you still have to check in. Like, when I injured, I had a microfracture. I did my rehab here. Dr. Bankston did the surgery. Yeah. I didn't want the team doctor for the Chargers to do it. Intense, right? I did it for, Dr. Bankston. He had seen my knee before. I'd already had 2 surgeries. And so I rehabbed here. And they were in constant contact with the Chargers. They would talk every day. Hey, here's what he did. Here's what we're doing. Here's where he's at. Like, those are some of the things. Like, you can still do it your way, but you still have to check a lot of boxes to make sure everyone's happy.
No, look, I mean, nobody. So this is what I think sometimes gets lost in this, and not to you, Jake, but nobody feels the pain of that lost year more acutely than Mike Thomas, right? Like, he has to know, he knows that at the end of the day, he looks in the mirror and he straight up cost himself a year of his prime. A year in which, again, this was a guy on a Hall of Fame trajectory. Not just like good, not great, a literal, objective Hall of Fame trajectory. And now, as Jake points out, he's played, 5 games in 3 years?
He's played 10 the last 2. He played 7 in 2020. He played 3 in 2022.
So there you go. So he was his own worst enemy. I think he understands that. He's admitted such that he made mistakes and that he now has learned from them, right? So I think you're getting a supremely motivated Mike Thomas. I think you're getting the same ultra competitor that Mike Thomas has always been with that, he's rumored to have that kind of Jordan-esque personality where anything that happens, he'll take anything as a slight and use it. But I mean, to your point, I did write in all caps in my notes, please, Lord, let this man stay healthy. Because it doesn't work. I mean, it works on so many levels. First off, he's just very talented with himself, right? Second off, you're bringing a new quarterback in Derek Carr. You want to give him as many weapons as possible. That's great. Third off, if you look at the makeup of the receiving core, is he not the exact piece that you need? Raheem Shaheed's your over-the-top threat. Chris Olave, also, deep, maybe a bit more intermediate kind of threat. You got a big body tight end in Juwan Johnson, and now you got Mike Thomas, like you said, in that 10 to 11 yard range, doing all the dirty work. Contested. I keep going back to Nick Underhill's contested catches stat that he laid out on the show yesterday, where in those, 2 games last year or 3 games? He had 11 contested catches, and I think over the entire season, Chris Olave had 21 to lead the team. So nobody was able to just body people like Mike Thomas was and still is capable of doing it. So I actually really like, and then look, I don't know where Kamara's head or career or time is going to be at this year, but if you can allow yourself to throw him in as a weapon, then all of a sudden you're like, okay, there's still work to be done, but those are skill positions that you can work with if you're Derek Carr.
Yeah, and Mike Thomas being healthy and engaged and locked in changes the strategy for you in the offseason as well, as far as like where you're going in the draft.
Yep.
Like what you would do. Like it fully gives over to you drafting defense. If you get a guy like this and you can kind of read the room and you can read his body language and read his conversations and figure out, okay, where he's at mentally, getting a new quarterback and everything. And so like that's a big weapon. Like that's huge to be able to have that available, because what you said, like you've got the other 2 receiver positions. You re-signed Juwan Johnson for 2 years, so you have your tight end. Running back still something you'll go after, but again, like we've said all month leading into the draft, you can do that later.
Yeah, you almost have to do that later.
I mean, you go defense 29-40,
yeah.
And then maybe probably can go another pick, and then because remember you get some comp picks as well. That list I sent y'all the other day, I mean, the Saints have a lot of comp picks coming in this draft that could be like starter range value.
True.
So you're going to go defense probably with the first 2 picks, which of course means they're probably going to draft a guard. But
hey, whoa, you can't ever be mad at an O-line draft pick, dude. Relax.
Dude, every Saints offensive lineman was a first or second round pick. Like they've spent their time and money and effort.
Well, I mean, and there were some home runs. I mean, everybody's actually good now, though. I mean, especially with Ruiz being
I'm just saying,
good. Except for,
they like selecting offensive linemen.
Yes. Well, you got to, it all starts up front, Jake. It all starts up front.
But no, to your point, that starts 5 yards behind the offensive line with a little guy, a little stubby guy in a 3-point stance.
That plays once every 8 plays.
Yep.
No, you're right. I think, and look, Dennis Allen's a defensive head coach, so I have a feeling, Jake, that they'll probably go D-line there in round number 1. It just makes entirely too much sense. So yeah, it frees you up draft-wise. You got good weapons. You get back a guy that at it. Like even if Mike Thomas is 80% of what he was, he's still better than 90% of the league. And I guess the question is, can Derek Carr be the one to unlock him? Because I feel like, did y'all boys hear any of these whispers that maybe, because it looked like Mike Thomas and Jameis Winston had a really good relationship, like outside looking in. I don't know about their relationship on an interpersonal level, but on a football level, I feel like I heard that maybe there wasn't a ton of compatibility there. I don't know if that's completely true. I mean, when you look at that game that we just played the highlights of, they looked fine there. But then, Mike Thomas and Derek Carr signed, what he tweet? Thank you, Jesus. I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility that after playing with Drew Brees, Mike Thomas has not been happy with, especially because wide receiver is such a weird position where I can't think of almost any other position in sports where you are so dependent on someone who is not you for you to maximize your ability. Like you just have to have a good quarterback. And so I don't think it's crazy to think that in the Taysom Hill, Jameis, Andy Dalton era that he's maybe been like, hey, this kind of sucks post Drew Brees. And he feels, I don't know if this is right or not, but he feels like maybe Derek Carr is that guy that can be a bit more on the Brees spectrum. Obviously not the heights that he had. What I love is that it seems like one of the main reasons why Thomas came back was Derek Carr. I mean, if you watch Derek Carr's press conference, him describing the conversation that they had. Mar, I don't know exactly which part of this quote that you have pulled, but here is Derek Carr and his early conversations with Mike Thomas.
Me and Mike, we've gotten close through this process and talking, and the first time I talked to him on the phone, I don't think he wanted me to get off the phone. I really enjoyed talking to him, and I told Mickey, I was like, you talk to Mike Thomas, and you feel like you two could go out there and face the world. I told my wife when I got off the phone, and she was like, why are you smiling? I was like, I love this guy. He's so competitive. And I think just the energy that he brings. It would be very exciting times to throw him the football for sure.
And then he goes on to say, when he started recruiting and talking to me, he wasn't even trying to recruit me. He was just like, when we get into work, we're wasting time. Time is ticking. I was like, dude, I'm the same way. We'll get there. But I think that relationship has grown through the process, and I'm looking forward to hopefully making that relationship grow even stronger. And look, relationships can go awry, okay? This very much feels like two people that, the first meeting goes very well. It's all very lovey-dovey. You're like, oh, this is going to be fantastic. And then maybe it could blow up. But I just love hearing how hungry both of them sound to prove everybody wrong. And make no mistake, both these guys have a lot of people to prove wrong, right? Derek Carr is literally fighting for his entire legacy. Was he held down by the Raiders, or did he hold the Raiders down? He's looking to answer that question in New Orleans. Mike Thomas, fighting for his legacy. Can he be that Hall of Fame guy? Will he be remembered as a flash in the pan, or can he get back to being one of the all-time greats, right? I always think about Randy Moss, which it was different because I think he was still playing, but remember Randy Moss had those lost years in Oakland.
To the Raiders,
He just disappeared. And then he came back and said, no, I'm still one of the best to ever do it. Mike Thomas wants to do that same
set
thing.
NFL record with the Patriots after that.
Yeah. Can't believe that team got so close to an 18-0. It didn't happen. But whatever. The point is, I like two guys that we know are talented, that are desperate for success, now tag teaming up and trying to help each other achieve their goals. Will it happen? That is very much up for debate. But I like it from a setup standpoint.
It's in a better spot than we could have predicted in the middle of March.
Yes.
When we were talking about the Saints to wrap up the season.
Completely agree. I did not have Mike Thomas sticking around anywhere on my New Orleans Saints vision board, or Jameis Winston, for that matter.
Or Derek Carr being your quarterback. There's been moves that have been made that have been surprising that have helped you become a better football team. Juwan Johnson's not somebody that I know he's restricted, but I didn't know what the plans were for him, and I really liked his game last year.
Yeah.
There's a real connection with him and Andy Dalton, and you signed him for 2 years. I mean, the first year is basically the restricted tender that you were going to give him anyways, but you sign him now for 2 years. That's a position of need. They still probably can add another tight end piece, but that helps solve a problem.
Yeah, and Dalton was, Dalton was really good with Waller in Oakland. Maybe this last year was a bit of a step back, but
Carr was good.
Well, when I say Dalton, my bad. Carr was really good with Waller in Oakland. So he can he'll find the tight end. Like Juwan Johnson should be able to grow what we saw out of him last year.
I'm actually excited. I know he's not a complete tight end.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a receiver in college.
Yeah.
There's something there, certainly. And if you use that piece right, and I've been a part of offenses that had, obviously he's not Antonio Gates. Antonio Gates is one of the best to ever do it. But you can become creative enough, and I want to say hide his blocking deficiencies, but put him in a better position to succeed.
I mean, Kelsey doesn't really block, does he? I know Kittle does. I know Kittle does everything.
Kelsey more than you would think. I mean, George Kittle's a mauler.
Yeah, no. Kittle's the best actual tight end in the NFL.
All around. I think I'd agree with you, which people probably think we're crazy, but
no, I mean, but we're talking about the whole
but it's about being willing. I mean, you know that. It's every level of football, but if you're like Antonio Gates was willing. Like he wasn't the best at it, but he was willing, and they put him in position, they would shift motion, kind of help him out the best they possibly could.
That's maybe the great irony of the Saints tight end room is if you were just to physically stereotype and put Troutman and Johnson next to each other, you would not think that this guy was the run blocker and this guy was the pass catcher.
The Saints don't have a true yackle.
No.
Which is what my co-host Ben Hartsock was.
I got a good old all-around tight end name for you. It's a Falcon, so y'all aren't going to like it.
Algie Crumpler?
Yeah, what a name, dude. Algie Crumpler. All-time NFL name team.
They had a lot of good, Peerless Price, all-time team.
Peerless Price.
He'd be on the all-time team,
He was a
right?
beast on NFL 2K5, dude.
What a name.
Rod Coleman. Not a great name, but Rod Coleman was
Rod Coleman's real basic.
He was a real good D tackle. that
Rod
nobody
Coleman
remembers.
wears Coke bottle glasses and sits behind a desk.
Yeah. He's
T.J.
TJ
Price
Duckett.
doesn't.
TJ Duckett was a beast.
Whoa.
NFL
Yeah.
Street.
Mississippi State?
That was
No,
my guy.
Michigan State.
Damn.
That was my guy in NFL Street. Just
MSU.
truck everybody.
MSU. Okay.